Republican Congressman Trent Franks attended Mr. Trump's speech in Phoenix and joins me now. Congressman, I think you just heard what Secretary Gutierrez had to say. How will Donald Trump make this deportation policy work?
Well, I think if there's one thing that Donald Trump has gotten right, and that is the fundamental necessity to secure the borders so that we know who is coming in and out of this country. Just as we have the right and responsibility as family members, as people in this country to know who is coming in and out of our own home, we have a right as a country to know and decide who is coming in and out of our country. And he gets that right. And he focuses on that and says these other things will be prioritized behind that. And I think that's very important. I do a lot of national security considerations. And I think the one area of border security that's overlooked are the national security implications. Donald Trump does not do that. And in terms of national security, the notion of Hillary Clinton being president, Andrea, it makes me want to sleep with the lights on, as it should all Americans. And so the fundamental focus that Donald Trump has had here is not really any sort of change. It's a very logical, very common sense approach that we secure the border, and then we try to sort out how we deal with the rest of it in that environment.
I wanted to play a little bit of the running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, on Morning Joe today, talking about Donald Trump's speech, and get your reaction.
Kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth in a way that I think the diplomacy side of it was kind of embarrassing, and then the speech last night was frightening and divisive. This same speech has been given throughout our history against the Irish, against Italian-American immigrants, against Jews coming from Eastern Europe. It is a deportation nation, and they're all criminals, and they're doing horrible things. That is not going to make our country great.
Congressman, how do you work out what many people in business and many small business business owners, and agricultural community spokespeople say is we need these transitional and seasonal workers to make our economy go and continue to work and thrive? And how do you satisfy all of these economic impulses?
Well, that's not inconsistent with Donald Trump's policy at all. You know, I'm married to an immigrant. She came here legally, and we've been married 36 years, and if she ever leaves me, I'm going with her. The reality, however, is that when we decide as Americans who comes in and out of our country, it's a different issue than people coming over here and breaking the law and deciding whether they're going to ignore our law and our ideals at will. And, you know, the bottom line here is this has become kind of a contest between Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump on the basis of who do they trust. And Mrs. Clinton has two very important voting demographics that do not trust her. First is American men, and secondly is American women. The American people simply do not trust Hillary Clinton. And whatever foibles Donald Trump might have, they're going to take a kind of a straightforward, even if he talks a little rough, they know in his heart that he wants to do what's right for America.
Well, I think the data
and they don't trust Mrs. Clinton.
In the Washington Post ABC poll that came out yesterday, they showed a virtual tie in the unfavorable ratings of both of them. She's ahead of him in the national polling, but they both are deeply unpopular, the most unpopular nominees we've ever had. At the same time, the Clinton campaign accusing Donald Trump of choking with Peña Nieto by not bringing up paying for the wall, by not following up on all of his promises. I'm going to go down there and negotiate, and actually being, you know, not the Donald Trump that he's advertised.
Well, I think that this gave Donald Trump a chance to be seen on the national stage. You know, Hillary Clinton has emphasized that to a tremendous degree, and yet when people saw Donald Trump on this national stage, he looked presidential, and it was clear that he could handle that job. And I think it's been something that, instead of being a bad week for him, it's been an excellent week for Donald Trump. They were here last night. He gave a magnificent speech, one that reflects my own perspective to a large degree, and that is that simply that we care about everyone in this country, but we have a right to know who is coming in and decide who is coming into our country for the sake of being the beacon of freedom, the flagship of freedom for the whole world. It's important that we do that. And Hillary Clinton does not see people coming over our borders illegally as illegal immigrants or even as people or as human beings. She sees them essentially as unregistered Democrats. And if we don't understand that as an American electorate, then we simply misunderstand the dynamics of this election.
Congressman Franks, thank you very much for being with us today.